there's something quietly heartbreaking happening in the lives of many seniors, especially those over 70. They sleep during the day, sometimes for hours, yet when night falls, they're wide awake, restless, and worn out. It's easy to shrug it off as just part of aging. But what if this pattern is actually a warning sign? A hidden signal from the body that something deeper is wrong. In Europe and North America, millions of elderly individuals face this daily cycle of fatigue, confusion, and emotional decline without anyone truly noticing. They're not lazy, they're not simply bored. They're silently struggling in a way that even doctors sometimes overlook. In today's episode of Elderly Reflections, we dive into this misunderstood pattern, what causes it, what it could mean for senior health, and most importantly, how to help yourself or someone you love break free from this loop. Before we begin, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Elderly Reflections is here to bring you powerful stories, life lessons from the elderly, and science-backed guidance to help every senior live with energy, dignity, and meaning. It often begins with something subtle, a nap after breakfast, a doze off during a quiet afternoon. Then, somewhere along the line, night comes and sleep doesn't. Many seniors over 70 find themselves wide awake at 2 a.m., exhausted yet unable to rest. The pattern becomes routine, sleeping all day. But what truly causes this? Why do so many older adults fall into this loop of inverted energy? One major reason lies in the silent breakdown of the body's natural timekeeper. Its internal clock, known as the circadian rhythm, this 24-hour cycle tells our body when to feel awake, when to rest, and when to eat. But as we age, this rhythm begins to fault. Seniors often find themselves falling asleep too early, waking before dawn and drifting off throughout the day. Research from the National Institute on Aging points to decreased melatonin production and reduced sensitivity to light, both of which make it harder for the body to stay synchronized with the world around it. Take Margaret, a retired teacher from New Jersey. At 74, she found herself napping twice a day and tossing through the night. "I felt like my days and nights had swapped places," she said. After a consultation with a sleep specialist, she was diagnosed with advanced sleep phase disorder, a common yet often unrecognized condition in seniors. Through light therapy and a carefully structured bedtime routine, her sleep began to align with daylight once more. Still, many older adults live for years in this state, never realizing it's treatable. But the issue runs deeper than circadian confusion. For others, the exhaustion stems not from timing, but from breath. Imagine waking up 30, even 60 times a night without knowing it. That's what sleep apnea does. It silently blocks the airway during sleep, disrupting rest and cutting off oxygen to the brain and heart. Though it's widely misunderstood, nearly half of people over 65 may suffer from some form of sleep apnea, often without loud snoring or obvious signs. Ask Robert, a 76-year-old former mechanic from Ohio. He thought his daily naps were just part of getting older, but his daughter noticed him gasping for air in his sleep. A sleep study revealed severe obstructive sleep apnea. Once he began using a CPAP machine, his energy returned, he slept deeply, he stopped drifting off during the day. "I didn't know how bad it was," he admitted. "I thought that was just how aging felt." And yet for many seniors, the tiredness isn't caused by breathing, or even by the body at all. Sometimes it's emotional. After 70, loneliness becomes a quiet companion in many homes. Grief, social isolation, or the death of a spouse can lead to something heavier than fatigue, depression. But unlike depression in younger adults, it often appears as sleepiness, disinterest, and a constant desire to shut the world out. James, 80, from Vancouver, lost his wife and soon found himself sleeping 16, 18 hours a day. "I just didn't want to be awake," he confessed. His grandson encouraged him to see a geriatric psychologist who diagnosed him with late-life depression. Therapy, small social steps, and gentle medication helped him re-engage with life. "I didn't even realize I was depressed," he said. "I just thought I was feigning." At Elderly Reflections, we know that energy doesn't only come from rest. It comes from connection, meaning, and healing what can't be seen on a chart. Still, there's another factor quietly draining seniors of energy, one that sits on every nightstand. Medications. While each prescription may be necessary, the combination of multiple drugs, called polypharmacy, often leads to unintended side effects: brain fog, daytime drowsiness, and broken nighttime sleep. Some medicines suppress the nervous system. Others interfere with REM sleep. Even sleep aids, ironically, can rob the elderly of true rest. Take Dora, 78, from Manchester. She began to feel unusually groggy despite going to bed early. Her daughter reviewed her medications and discovered a blood pressure pill with strong sedative properties. After adjusting the timing with her doctor's help, Doris began waking up refreshed, no longer needing naps to make it through the day. A University of Michigan study confirms this is common. Nearly 40% of seniors using popular sleep medications report grogginess, confusion, and poor coordination the next morning. It's a reminder that after 70, even helpful pills require second opinions. Then there's a paradox few talk about: how doing less actually makes you feel more tired. As movement decreases due to injury, arthritis, or fear of falling, so does muscle strength, metabolism, and sleep pressure built up during the day. The less you move, the harder it becomes to sleep. The harder it is to sleep, the more you feel drained. Walter, a retired Navy veteran in Florida, fell into this exact trap after hip surgery. I stopped walking. Then I stopped caring, he said. His physical therapist urged him to start slow. Light stretches, walking to the mailbox, even standing during commercials. It didn't seem like much, he said, but it felt like someone turned the light back on. Within weeks, Walter's nighttime sleep deepened, and his daytime naps disappeared. Finally, sometimes the real enemy of sleep isn't disease or loss or medicine. Sometimes it's habit. Many seniors carry lifelong routines that unknowingly sabotage rest. TV in bed, strong tea before sleep, news at midnight. These behaviors confuse the brain, making sleep shallower and wakefulness stretch longer. Helen, 81, from Dublin, was no stranger to bedtime rituals. I'd drink tea and watch detective shows until my eyes burned, but she rarely slept before 3 a.m. After learning about sleep hygiene, she swapped black tea for chamomile, turned off screens by 9 p.m., and dimmed her bedroom lights. Within days, she reported falling asleep faster and waking less. Turns out I was doing everything backwards, she smiled. The truth is simple. Good sleep begins long before bedtime. With the right guidance, and sometimes just a few small changes, rest can return. So when you see an older loved one dozing through the day and struggling through the night, don't just call it getting old. It might be their body clock, their breathing, their pills, or even their heart. But behind every yawn, every nap, every sleepless night is a reason. And behind every reason is a way back. For many seniors, the shift begins quietly. A nap here and there, a later bedtime, meals getting pushed back, conversations ending early, family visits shortened, and before long the days blur. Morning becomes a haze, afternoons a retreat, and nighttime a battle. It's easy to dismiss it as just old age, but what's happening under the surface is far more serious. When elderly individuals spend more time asleep than awake and still feel exhausted, it's not just a matter of sleep, it's a message, one that too many people miss. The first thing to go is usually memory. Seniors struggling with constant fatigue often begin showing signs of cognitive fog, forgetting where they place things, repeating themselves, struggling to follow conversations. Families assume it's the onset of dementia, but in many cases, the real cause is chronic sleep deprivation. Deep sleep, especially REM and slow wave stages, is critical for memory consolidation and brain detoxification. When that sleep is fragmented, the brain never completes its nightly repair. Eleanor, 82, from Boston, began confusing names and misplacing keys. Her daughter feared Alzheimer's, but brain scans showed no damage. The issue was functional. "I thought I was broken," she said tearfully. "I just needed rest." But cognitive issues are just the beginning. Fatigue disrupts social rhythms too. A senior who wakes at noon and naps at 3 p.m. is likely to miss family calls, doctor appointments, church, or even meal deliveries. The world continues to operate on a daytime schedule, but the tired senior quietly slips off that track. Slowly, the world becomes quieter, smaller, more distant. Alfred, 77, from Yorkshire, used to play chess every Wednesday with his friend Malcolm. After a few missed games, he stopped getting invited. "I was always too tired to go," he said. And then one day, no one asked anymore. Over time, the isolation turns from circumstantial to emotional. Seniors begin feeling forgotten, not because others forget them, but because they no longer have the energy to stay connected. What many families don't realize is that social isolation caused by fatigue isn't just lonely, it's dangerous. A study from the University of California found that chronic loneliness in seniors increases the risk of death by 26%, comparable to obesity or smoking 15 cigarettes a day. And yet, this isn't loneliness from living alone. It's the isolation that comes from being too tired to answer the phone, too groggy to enjoy a visit, or too unfocused to engage. And once social engagement fades, so does motivation. Hobbies get dropped, meals are skipped, conversations feel like effort. It's not just physical exhaustion anymore, it's existential. The physical risks are just as stark. Seniors who are constantly tired often stop moving altogether. And when you stop moving, you start losing. Muscle strength declines rapidly after 70 without regular activity. Bones become brittle, reaction time slows. Add to that the confusion from poor sleep, and you have a perfect storm for falls. Ingrid, 79, from Oslo, had been staying up until 2 a.m. every night watching television. She slept until noon, missed meals, and rarely left the house. One early morning, disoriented and sleep-deprived, she tripped over her carpet and broke her hip. That fall was the beginning of a long decline. From independent living to a wheelchair, from her own flat to a care home. All because exhaustion blurred her balance and dulled her awareness. According to the CDC, more than 3 million seniors are treated in emergency rooms every year for fall injuries, many of which are indirectly caused by poor sleep. And the falls are only part of it. Fatigue leads to inactivity, inactivity leads to poor circulation, weaker immune response, slower wound healing, and reduced cardiovascular resilience. But it also leads to something even more subtle: malnutrition. Seniors who sleep through breakfast or skip dinner because they're too tired begin losing essential calories and nutrients. George, 81, in Alberta, Canada, used to be proud of his cooking. After his wife passed, he began skipping meals, saying he wasn't hungry or would eat later. But later never came. His daughter found him pale, frail, and 10 pounds later. A blood test revealed severe B12 and iron deficiencies, conditions that made him feel even more tired, creating a dangerous cycle. Sleepiness leads to more sleepiness, and so the spiral deepens. Another alarming pattern in seniors with reverse sleep cycles is sundowning, a state of confusion, restlessness, and even paranoia that worsens as the sun sets. Though commonly associated with dementia, sundowning can also appear in sleep-deprived elderly individuals with otherwise healthy brains. Liam, 85, from Dublin, had begun acting strangely after dark. He would accuse his caregiver of hiding things, talk to himself, and wander the hall. His son feared dementia, but a sleep specialist traced it back to erratic REM cycles and chronic insomnia. With melatonin supplements, environmental adjustments, and a strict routine, Liam's nighttime confusion eased. He returned to clarity not because his mind was broken, but because his sleep was. All of these symptoms, cognitive fog, falls, loneliness, undernutrition, emotional decline, are often accepted as part of getting older, but they're not. They're warning signs. And the tragedy is that they're so easy to miss. When a senior starts sleeping more, families often respond with relief, while at least they're resting. But it's not rest, it's withdrawal. It's the body and mind quietly disengaging, silently shifting into preservation mode, and the more people ignore it, the deeper it grows. So what should we be watching for? The signs are subtle but powerful. A senior who no longer finishes meals. One who naps twice a day but says, "I'm still tired." One who answers the phone less, skips appointments, becomes irritable or confused in the evening, speaks less, smiles less, no longer makes plans. When these patterns emerge, we must not dismiss them. We must ask, not with judgment but with curiosity, how have you been sleeping? It's a small question that can open a door back into clarity, back into health, back into life. And when we do ask, we have to be ready to listen. Because behind every yawn, behind every missed morning, every skipped meal, every "I'm fine" that doesn't feel true, there's a story, a reason, a cause, and often a quiet, desperate hope that someone will notice. Fatigue doesn't have to last forever. For seniors stuck in the cycle of daytime napping and nighttime exhaustion, there is hope. Real, tangible, proven hope. Across North America and Europe, many older adults have found simple but life-changing ways to reclaim their energy and restore their natural rhythm. It doesn't require expensive treatments or drastic measures. Often it starts with something as ordinary as that. One of the most effective tools to regulate the elderly body clock is morning light. As people age, their sensitivity to natural cues like daylight weakens. Seniors who wake late or stay indoors often miss the critical sunlight that signals the brain to stop producing melatonin and start the day. For Dorothy, 86, from Minneapolis, simply spending 20 minutes near her garden window every morning, doing a crossword or sense a tea. Within weeks, she stopped napping in the afternoon and began falling asleep naturally before 10 p.m. It felt like my body remembered how to be awake, she said. Another powerful but underestimated solution is movement. Seniors who move during the day sleep better at night, not because they tire themselves out, but because movement rebuilds sleep pressure, regulates hormones, and reinforces the brain's natural need for rest. Bernard, 79, from Lyon, had fallen into a pattern of sleeping during meals and missing conversations. His doctor suggested daily courtyard walks. Not far, not fast, just enough to feel the ground under his feet. That small act shifted everything. After a few days, I started feeling like I'd earned my sleep. He smiled. Science backs this up. Even light activity improves sleep depth and mental clarity in those over 70. But even light and movement can't fix a broken routine. Seniors who sleep, eat, and nap at irregular hours confuse their body clock. A consistent daily rhythm, waking, eating, walking, resting, gives the brain something to hold on to. Emma, 83, from Glasgow, struggled with nighttime panic. Her son helped her create a gentle routine. Breakfast at 8, fresh air at 10, a light lunch at 12:30, quiet reading in the afternoon, and a screen-free window starting at 8 p.m. The result? I stopped fearing the night. Many seniors unknowingly sabotage their rest by skipping breakfast, snacking late, or eating meals that spike blood sugar and interfere with melatonin. Juanita, 87, from San Diego, began replacing her nighttime crackers with an early dinner and a warm mug of chamomile tea. She added magnesium-rich foods like oats and bananas to her day. I didn't think food mattered, she said, but I started falling asleep without even realizing it. The right foods at the right times restore both sleep quality and energy during waking hours. And then beyond light movement, routine, and diet, there's something deeper: purpose. Many seniors sleep not because they're tired, but because they have nothing to wake up for. Purpose fuels wakefulness. It gives the day meaning and the night a reason to end. Walter, 81, from Montreal, had given up on most things until his granddaughter asked him to read stories for her class's virtual library hour. That small task gave him a reason to wake, shower, prepare. I started sleeping because I knew tomorrow mattered, he said. Soon he was writing stories of his own. His fatigue faded, not because of sleep pills, but because someone reminded him he still mattered. These are not miracles. They're choices, small, consistent, powerful choices that any senior anywhere can make with a bit of help. That's what Elderly Reflections believes in, not fixing aging, but honoring it. And through these changes in sunlight, movement, structure, nourishment, and meaning, life becomes fuller, sleep becomes natural again, and mornings become something to look forward to. Growing old is not the same as growing invisible. When a senior begins sleeping all day and feels drained at night, it's not just tiredness. It's a signal, a quiet message from the body and spirit saying, I need rhythm again, I need light, I need meaning. We've seen it in Dorothy, Walter, Emma, real people who found their way back not through medication alone, but through small shifts, human connection, and the belief that life still has purpose. If you see this pattern in yourself or someone you love, don't brush it off. Fatigue in the elderly is often misunderstood, but it's never meaningless. There is a path back to restful nights and energized days, and often it begins with simply asking, how are you sleeping really? At Elderly Reflections, we believe that every yawn tells a story, and every story deserves to be heard. Because aging is not a closing door. Tell us in the comments where you're watching from. Have you or someone close to you gone through this silent struggle? If this message resonated with you, consider subscribing to Elderly Reflections.